Whenever I'm reading a book, I do this thing where I write down any interesting words that I've found, any intriguing words in a notebook. Then later on I'll sit at my computer and I'll look up the words in order to find out the interesting etymology and the definitions behind them. Well, then I decided that the second part of that process, the looking up words part, should be a show. So, welcome to Define, the boringest show on YouTube, right here at the Launchpad Writers Club. Cheers. Welcome to the Launchpad Writers Club. Well, that was too pleasant. Welcome to the Launchpad Writers Club. My name's Andrew Lewis. This is Define, a show about defining words. This is the boringest show on YouTube. Watch it while you're on the toilet. Ever do that? Ever watch YouTube on the toilet? Do you? Yeah, me either. Okay, our first word is from a special guest, so let's kick it over to Justin Woolley, author of A Town Called Dust. What's your favourite word?
My favourite word is soporific, which is the hypnotic feeling you get from a sound or a visual, like sitting and watching a fire crackling in a fireplace is a soporific experience.
Brilliant. Let's look it up. Soporific.
Soporific.
Indeed. Okay, tending to induce drowsiness or sleep. The motion of the train had a somewhat soporific effect. Sleepy or drowsy, tediously boring or monotonous, or it's also a noun as a drug or substance that induces drowsiness or sleep, a sedative. Okay. Justin said it to me like it's like something kind of hypnotic. So it hypnotizes you into a sort of dreary state. So he said like staring into a fireplace. That's cool. Actually, when he said soporific, I had no idea what that word meant. So that was interesting to learn that one. So, inducing, sleepiness / drowsiness. Beautiful. All right, next on the word list is paltriness. This is just one that I plucked from my one of my books of words. If I could spell it. Paltriness. So it's the same as poultry in a way. So let's look up poultry. Poultry.
Poultry.
Poultry. Small, meagre, trifling, insignificant. Now, to the best of my knowledge, paltriness had more of a connotation of like meaninglessness, like a worthlessness. Worthless thing. It comes from the word trash and is cognate with Middle Low German or East Frisian polt, meaning rag, or broken or torn fragment. Cognate's an interesting word. Cognate means, when talking about words, having the same linguistic derivation as another word. Here's a pretty brutal definition. So, worthlessness due to insignificance. That strikes a chord with me. Worthlessness due to insignificance. I feel like those first two words are pretty good ways of describing this show. That's pretty self-deprecating. Let's move on. Next word. The next word is preternatural. Oh, I'm glad this has got the pronunciation button.
Preternatural.
Preternatural. Yeah, that makes sense. Beyond what is normal or natural. I'm not sure how that differs from supernatural. I think supernatural must be, it's so different that it's not believable within the scope of reality, where preternatural is like, well, this definition here down the bottom, very unusual in a way that does not seem natural. So, but it's still sort of within the scope of real. It just doesn't seem quite right. It's definitely diminished in popularity over the last few hundred years. Back in the 1800s, they loved that word. Big word back in the 1800s. Big word. All right, I'm going to write down that bit. Very unusual in Very unusual in a way that does not seem natural. I have no special comment on that word. Let's just move along. Harridans, which is just the plural of Harridan, I think. So I'm just going to look up Harridan. Harridan. I think I meant to write Harridan, not Harridans. Harridan.
Harridan.
Harridan. A strict, bossy, or belligerent old woman. An angry and unpleasant woman. A scolding, vicious woman, hag, or shrew. You might call the old lady next door who yells at you to stay off her lawn a harridan. Oh, golly. I'm going to dive into one of these and see if I can find the origin. So they reckon it's from French Harridant, which is a thin, worn-out horse, or a large, gaunt woman. I don't know why I find that amusing, but I think an old, worn-out horse is a strange insult for a mean old lady, but okay. Harridan, a strict, bossy old... which one? I quite liked... All right, I'm going to go with angry and unpleasant old woman. Cool, here's another celebrity word recommendation from Moana Hope of the AFLW's Collingwood football team.
Thank you. This is more of a book question than a sport question, but what's your favourite word?
My favourite word, this is going to sound corny, but hope. I think because if you got hope, you know, what more do you need? And that just happens to be my last name, so.
Cool. Thank you. Not a very interesting word to look up, but let's look it up. A feeling of expectation and desire for a particular... Wait a second, was she flirting with me?
I think because if you got hope, you know, what more do you need? And that just happens to be my last name.
Call me. All right, want something? My girlfriend won't be too pleased about that joke. Sorry, dear. All right, hope. You know what, I'm not even going to define hope. I'm going to scribble it out and I'm going to define my favourite word at the moment. I actually love this word. So here's a word that's a strange little quirky word, but it's powerful in a weird way. Dink. Now, anyone not from Australia has probably got no idea what that word means. It's a very obscure word if you're not Australian. If you are Australian, you'll know exactly what that means. Dink. And I'll explain why I like this word so much. So it means some stuff here, but here, Australian.
Dink.
Dink. A lift on a bicycle, to carry a passenger on a bicycle. The reason I like this word is because it's like, well, if you're an Aussie, you know that word, and it's from your childhood. Like the last time you used the word dink, you were a kid, because it's a kid-only word, because it means to give someone a lift on your bicycle. So just by saying that word, it throws you back to when you were a kid and you were out having like a bicycle adventure. But it also has that kind of feeling of, if you're dinking someone, it's because that person didn't have their bike. So you were going on an adventure with bicycles and one person needed to be given a dink on the front handlebars of the bike. I don't know, it's just a word, just that 4 letters throws you back to going on a bicycle adventure with like your older brother or something like that. You know, sharing one bike because, you know, you only had a couple of bikes and too many people for the amount of bikes you had. It's also kind of like perfectly sort of silly sounding. It's like it's playful sounding. So it's just one of those words that the sound of it is just so appropriate to the meaning of it, I think. Oh, I love it. Have a look at the usage. Bam! As soon as they invented bicycles, bam, they invented dink. And this little spike here, that was me asking my brother for a dink constantly when we were kids. That's me. That all of those ones there, that's actually me. Okay, dink. Give a lift on a bicycle. Also, apologies for the coarseness of my voice. I'm at the tail end of just 2 straight days of talking. I did a Launchpad incursion program yesterday for 120 kids. Turned 120 kids into authors yesterday, so I'm pretty proud of that. And then we did the Launchpad after school program. And then today I went to Mill Park to do an event for the Yarra Plenty Regional Libraries, where I was talking all day, obviously. So it's very raspy. It's a raspy voice. I apologize for that. Just in the last couple of minutes of the show, I'm going to read out a comment from one of the previous videos. Marion has said, I've been accused of being pretentious numerous times in my life because I often use big words, but simply put, I enjoy words. People tell me it's not worth it and it's too hard to remember complex words and not commonly used words, but in my opinion, slang and text speech is incredibly hard to keep up with as it is continuously changing. My passion for words is a relatively new passion, but it is a fierce one. About a year ago, I started writing as a positive outlet for PTSD, and I realised I didn't really know that many words. I enjoy your show, and will be watching more of it. Thanks, Marion. Rock on, I say. I mean, what's the harm in learning new stuff? It's just new stuff to learn. You got a big old brain in your head, you might as well fill it with obscure, useless, archaic language that no one understands, eh? Anyway, I'm glad you've enjoyed it, and I'm glad you're watching, and I'm glad you've subscribed and all that. I hope you continue watching and learning some new words, and that goes for everyone else watching too. I feel like I'm saying watching too much. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.